Previously on video.
Come on, you piece of shit! Stop! Oh, for fuck's sake! Oh, fuck this! This is bullshit! Start! Useless fucking car! Start!
Hello and welcome to Video Game Hangover, the podcast for anyone who's still waiting in line for their copy of GTA 5. That's not a GameStop, it's an Apple Store. Each week on VGH, we'll discuss the games that have been keeping us up late and break down a gaming-related topic. On this week's show, we're talking about Rockstar's newest open-world opus, Grand Theft Auto 5. If you're one of those rare folks who just don't see the appeal of GTA, we apologize in advance. I'm Randy Dickinson, and I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
I'm DJ Ross, and I'm in Mountain View, California.
Hello, this is Paul Sandu in lovely Dallas, Texas.
What makes it lovely, Paul?
Fall is here. I woke up today and it was 70 degrees and I was like, yes, finally, I can live again. So it's lovely.
You can live again.
You can leave the house without fear of bursting into flames.
Yes, sir, man. 3-4 months of the year, I go into hibernation, so it's time to wake up.
Excellent. Congratulations to all
Thank
of the
you.
people of Texas. Well, I think we're going to forego some of the formalities that we usually do at the top of the show, right? We don't really have any viewer mail from last week.
right
We don't
into
have any backlogs to update you on.
Wait, guys. Let me tell you about some of the old games I've been playing.
I don't want to hear it anymore. I'm tired of your old games, DJ.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was kind of... GTA 5 was kind of the end point, right? We stopped playing all those, now we're just doing this.
Right. And it becomes sort of the gentle slide into the next gen at this point, too. So we've got some chaos coming up at the end of the year.
Unless you guys, maybe you want to talk about Final Fantasy 14. Yeah?
Yeah.
Listen to all that excitement.
Okay, fine. What's going on with Grand Theft Auto?
Maybe once I get Final Fantasy 14, we can talk about it.
Yep.
Can't tell you how many video game podcasts I've had to skip through in the last couple of weeks because of Final Fantasy 14. God, it's like Madden week all over again.
No, you're missing out. Oh, it's so good.
Ugh. Well,
I feel bad because I want to pressure Paul into it, but also I don't want him to lose his job directly because of me. I mean, it would be a great story for 5 years from now, but it would be kind of awkward for those.
just
It would
do
be
for the
awkward
headline.
until I get another job,
Yeah.
which I would then in turn lose again. Cause...
Okay, well, that's enough Final Fantasy, though. We can come back to it next week.
So now we can say we talked about more than one game this week.
Yeah.
All right, so GTA 5.
The end. That was quick.
Great. Excellent. I already gave you guys my impressions, so I want to hear your initial impressions.
That's right. You actually got a few hours in it before we recorded last week's show.
Yeah.
And I think we've put in some time at this point. I think DJ and I are probably kind of around the same point in the game. Yeah. So let's just say for anybody listening that we're kind of talking about maybe the first 10 hours or so of the game. We'll avoid anything that is kind of needlessly spoilery. But we are going to get into presumably some specifics.
Yeah.
About character and game and the world and stuff like that. So if you really want to go into it completely fresh and have not started your copy yet, you might want to come back to this a little bit later. But otherwise...
Yeah, I don't think I'll... I'm very paranoid about spoilers, but I don't think I will be saying anything that I would have wanted to avoid before playing
that you would be
this,
angry with us about.
Yeah, right. So, I don't know. Depends on how you feel about spoilers in a Grand Theft Auto game.
So, I'm having fun with it. I put a lot of time in it so far, and I was, I think, initially surprised at how slow it is to start.
Slow?
Slow.
Just story pacing-wise?
Yeah, you get kind of a prologue, and that's kind of fun and intense, and there's some stuff going on there, and it's got some good momentum. Mm-hmm. And then it drops you into one of the first main characters' kind of world, and it was a little slow. It did not have the momentum or intensity of that first scenario. And I was surprised at how long it took to kind of get its feet under it and get it going. Did you not have that experience?
Man, I can't even remember what the first, like after the intro sequence.
Right.
What happened after that? So I don't know. Maybe that's a sign. I
Yeah,
gotta say,
you just
this
go driving around picking up cars.
okay. Now I remember.
Now you remember.
Yeah. I gotta say, I've like had a weird last couple weeks. I've been super busy. I like came home. I didn't even play this on Tuesday because we were recording, but I got home on Wednesday, and my brain just totally fried. And I put this in and started playing it because I like now is the time. And I was just like, I don't know. I like couldn't handle it. It was just weird, and I got bored after an hour and played Final Fantasy 14. But
That's funny you say that, though.
like, do you guys ever start playing one of these? And I feel like it happens more. It's more common with open world games where you start it up, and you're just like, oh, I have all these fond memories of playing GTA, like previous GTAs and Saints Row and Just Cause and what have you. Like, when is this going to start being fun? Like, let's just do
That's
it. Like,
exactly
hurry.
what happened. Like, you guys remember, I mean, my initial impressions, I was kind of lukewarm on it. You know, I also came back from work very tired, but I wanted to try it before we recorded just to get a taste of it. And I kept thinking to myself, like, all right, I got this giant playground here. I'm not really doing a lot of, crazy stuff yet. When is this going to pick up and get awesome? And it was kind of underwhelming. It was a very underwhelming beginning to the game.
Well, I think it very much, maybe intentionally, starts you at a point where a lot of the old GTA games started. Is that you're very much kind of an underling. You're kind of the low man on the totem pole, being pushed around by kind of a unscrupulous boss, and you're forced to steal cars for him. And a shootout ensues, and you drive the car back, and he yells and screams in your face and does something kind of antisocial and impolite. And it felt very familiar. It felt very much like the start of every other GTA game thus far.
Yeah, like the first mission where you go shooting, it's just like, oh, this feels like you said, every other GTA game. Like, why am I doing this? I kind of was freaking out, like this is the same thing. I used to really like these. So what's the difference with this one?
Well, that you've done it repeatedly.
Yeah, and like I don't know how much detail I wanted to get into, but like the shooting's not very good, I don't think, and like you were saying before, Paul, the movement is still stuck in
It is,
last
isn't
century.
it? So it wasn't just me.
No, it's really bad.
It's still kind of sluggish and weird. It definitely doesn't feel, particularly after playing, I don't want to pick any game, Uncharted, in terms of third person. Like, the movement of Nathan Drake is miles ahead. It's so fluid and seems so realistic, and there is definitely still kind of a human tank kind of vibe to the way that the characters in the GTA games move.
I wonder, I mean, obviously that's got to be, at this point, something they're doing on purpose, but
Right.
why?
Yeah.
So maybe they want us to drive around more? They don't want us to explore the game world on foot? I mean, that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
Well, I was, dealing with this, walking around very, very slowly across the street of the streets of San Andreas, and I was thinking, like, okay, so this is like the second day playing this, and incidentally, I'm having a much better time with it now, because just like getting to soak in the world and atmosphere they've created, it's really incredible. Like, Rockstar, there's so many imitators, but somehow Rockstar just puts together like a world-class open world just environment every single time, and it's like leagues beyond Saints Row or even Just Cause 2.
Totally.
And I think one of the reasons for it is that there's just like it's so realistic compared to these other ones, and
Yeah, that's true.
there are definitely drawbacks from that. But I don't know. It feels different exploring a city in a Grand Theft Auto game than it does, cruising around Steelport or, other open world game of your choice. Just because it looks like it could be a real city.
Sure.
It looks like these are real characters, and for some reason, it's like that just heightens the kind of absurdity of all the other stuff you can do, like getting into crazy car chases and jumping off of buildings and stuff like that.
Right.
So I don't know.
I find when I'm driving around in Los Santos now, that I'll catch something sort of out of the corner of my eye, lights on a building or a sign or just interesting architecture for something. And I'm like, what was that thing that I drove past at 60 miles an hour?
Yeah.
So giant U-turn in the street and go back and look at it again and wonder if there's something there. And there's one of the missions that I went on where it was a neighborhood that I had covered pretty in depth. I had walked around quite a bit and hopped over some fences to see what was behind buildings, and there was a foot chase and stuff. And at one point you connect with a paparazzi, and he's like, hey, help me sneak into the courtyard of this hotel. And he walks through an archway and around a corner, and there's this whole other giant environment with the swimming pool and patio and stuff. I'm like, where did this stuff come from? The level of detail, the amount of the world that is just even hidden from your plain view, just driving down the street. And of course you see the outside and the facade. But there is so much more stuff even behind those things.
I've heard there's a lot of buildings you can enter that are mini environments that you can explore. So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
I am constantly just astonished by the level of just like the attention to detail that they put into this environment. Because like I said, you're driving through Saints Row, it's just like, none of this compels me to like get out of my car and walk around and actually look around. But I'll be driving somewhere and there'll just be like the most ordinary side street in Los Santos, and I'm like, what is this? Looks like somebody actually sat down and spent a lot of time crafting this little corner of the city that you're probably never going to actually visit during normal gameplay or anything. And then there's like, if you go on the back roads, there are all these like dirt trails leading off the highway, and it's like, so did they like comb over this like foot by foot to put in all these little textures and details? And it's like really mind-blowing how much time they must have spent crafting this.
I agree. Which makes it all the more disappointing that you still move and drive and shoot like you're running through mud.
Yeah. If you could explore these beautiful environments a little more with more fluidity, I would love to walk around a lot more. As it stands, I would love to run around and explore every nook and cranny, but I'm kind of avoiding that because it's just not as fun as the driving.
Yeah, well, so I'm saying like the world realism is really good, and I'm wondering how much like if your character just kind of hopped around like somebody from a Saints Row game, if that would actually detract from it.
Well, I don't mean like necessarily having crazy abilities and stuff, just more fluid movement.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean like superpowers or anything, but like not steering like a tank.
Telling you, a slingshot gun with a parachute is the solution for every video game.
It is, and I hope they have that as DLC. But Paul, you're saying the driving is really good, and I think it is much improved.
It's vastly improved.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my god, absolutely. Especially for a shitty driver like me. Franklin's special ability is a dream come true, where he kind of slows the world around him.
Right, and you can take those corners a little more under control. Yeah, absolutely.
I had my first really long cop chase. In the last mission, I spent like a 20-minute trying to avoid the cops chase, and his ability made it so much more fun. I wish I could use it forever.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. Well, I did Franklin's ability unlocks a series of street races. And I was reminded of Sleeping Dogs, and the driving of Sleeping Dogs was awesome. Was probably the best in an open world game that I've seen and played. And this is not quite there. That level of fidelity and control is not there. And of course, it's different from vehicle to vehicle. And I had to do the street races over a couple of times, just trying to find one that I could actually handle without it sort of spinning off and throwing me in a ditch every time I went around a corner. Yeah, but I think it is much, much better. Everything in GTA 4 controlled like it was on a sheet of ice.
Yeah.
You couldn't keep them on the road no matter what you were driving. And it is, I would give them big thumbs up for tweaking the hell out of that for GTA 5.
I like that for the first time ever. If you flip your car, you can flip it back over again.
That happened to me before, yeah.
That's amazing. How long have they been making these games? Like
such a simple little thing. It's so joyous.
They added that in. Yeah. I don't. So maybe you guys know this. When the car does flip over, though, if you just leave it there, does it eventually catch on fire and explode?
Ooh, I don't know.
No, I haven't tried that. I'm not sure.
Okay, that was like maybe the number one most disappointing thing about GTA 4 for me, because that was like a series staple.
It was like the silliest, stupid thing that you would expect from a GTA game. Yeah, absolutely.
Have you guys noticed in the playthroughs that you've had so far that how kind of bombastic like the fires and explosions in the game are?
Some of them have been pretty good.
Not really.
Yeah,
Although honestly,
things blow up real big, like pieces of shrapnel and stuff go flying across the map. There's one scenario where I shot a tank off the back of a mobile home, and like everything inside the home, essentially, like ironing boards and couches, went flying through the windows and stuff. I'm like, holy crap, that was pretty detailed. There was a lot going on there.
I didn't see that.
I haven't had to come across a ton of chaos quite yet, so I'm looking forward to getting into that.
Yep. Oh, my first Rampage. As soon as I had the first Rampage, I was like, this is Grand Theft Auto. I remember Rampage.
Oh, Rampages are
They
back?
didn't have those in the last one, right?
They did not.
I don't think so.
Oh, those are my favorite.
Oh, nice. All right.
And it's not that...
Okay, guys, I gotta go. I gotta go do a Rampage.
Well, in the older games, there was a little skull icon that you used to have to run over, and that unlocked a Rampage. And these kind of happen because of events in the story. Trevor is sort of a madman. He's kind of unhinged, and he's a drug addict. So he has crazy sort of violent overreactions and hallucinations. So they play off the Rampages as a side effect of his insanity. And every other character has their versions of the Rampages too that kind of tie into their stories and their psyches. They're kind of cool. It's well done, and they're hard.
Nice.
They're,
That's a nice surprise.
Yeah, it's cool. It was a huge surprise for me the first time it popped up because, like I said, it was kind of organic. It was just sort of like, what's going on? What's happening? Is this part of the story? Is this a thing? And it was just big letters on the screen. It said Rampage, kill 25 of these things in the next 3 minutes. Yeah, it was great.
Did you guys run into the weed mission yet?
Yes.
No, not yet.
Okay,
Yeah.
Paul, go find it and do that.
Man, I got to write this all down. Weed mission.
Look for a guy sitting at like a card table in a park.
Yeah.
Actually, I've heard
make sure you
those
talk to
random
him.
missions, they're completely random, and you may not come across them. You know, they appear at random times.
Yeah.
And
Well, anyway,
it's
make
only
a
certain
point.
characters. These are the freaks, right? That you're referring to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the freaks and the random events. I mean, like, there are random events that happen in the city as well. Like, some lady got her purse snatched, so I had to make a decision if I wanted to chase down the thief. Things like that.
Right. And then you
That
have to
happened.
make a decision if you want to bring the money back to her.
Right. And I did. Can you believe it? I brought the money back to her. I'm like, what am I doing?
I did too, yeah, absolutely.
This is a GTA game. I'm not a good guy.
I kind of like, as long as we're talking about, I'm not a good guy. What do you guys think of the character so far? Because Paul, last time you sounded a little down on somebody.
I've only met 2 of the characters so far. I still haven't come across Trevor, who, based on all the previews, is probably going to be my favorite, and I've heard he's a great character. So I can't comment on him personally, but Franklin has grown on me in the last couple of hours. A little bit. Yeah, I think it was more his friend who was really turning me off, Lamar.
Oh, I like
Not
Lamar.
clicking-
I think
Oh,
Lamar's
really?
hysterical.
Yeah, he hasn't grown on me yet, but Franklin's starting to, and Michael actually has been kind of funny so far. So he's clicking with me right away.
Yeah. I think Michael is supposed to be like a sympathetic character, but I don't feel that way about him. I find him grating. I find his family really grating.
Oh, yeah,
I think
no.
probably you're supposed to. I think that's the kind of the unfortunate thing about a lot of the secondary characters, particularly a lot of the secondary female characters in the game, is they tend to be really shrill and really nagging, and there isn't a lot of depth there in the way that there appears to be with the 3 main protagonists.
That's been something people have been commenting
Right.
a lot in the last week. I don't know if you wanted to touch on that at all, because I know some people have said the game can be kind of misogynistic. I haven't come across any of that yet, and if it is as bad as some people make it sound out to be, which I don't know, but if it is, that would probably be a huge turnoff for me personally.
Yeah, there's a bit of it, and it feels kind of par for the course for GTA, and I kind of want them to be more at this point. I want them to be better than that.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like nothing that you wouldn't have found in a previous GTA game.
Right. And I think that's, I think, to our conversation earlier, what I feel is kind of the most frustrating about GTA 5 for me thus far. And I'm having a good time with it. It's a lot of fun. It is what I wanted it to be, is that it really is just that it doesn't feel like this massive advancement over previous games. It really feels like kind of the perfect continuation of everything we created 15 years ago.
Are you talking about just like overall or anything?
Overall, yeah, I feel like the way it handled tutorials, the way that the characters are done, the way that it's like, look how shocking this is. You know what I mean? And it no longer feels kind of rebellious and antisocial. It just feels silly and tired.
Yeah.
And I
That
don't
was actually one of the biggest things that's sticking out for me is like just the humor in it. because
It's not resonating as much.
I mean, it's like Randy said, it's like the same style, like the same
We've heard these jokes.
quality. Yeah, exactly. And it's like the rest of the game, I feel it's come a long way. Like the city looks great.
Oh yeah.
They've improved some of the mechanics. The story seems more ambitious this time.
Yes.
But the humor is basically still like the same humor from GTA 3 10 years ago.
Right.
And it's just like it was never especially clever to begin with. It's like novel, I guess, at the time. But it's
now
like,
it just seems like everybody's doing it, so maybe it's just not as funny. I don't know.
It just feels so obvious. Like I complained about something similar when I was playing Shadows of the Damned a few months ago, where it's just like, well, you really could have put some real jokes in here, or like done some real satire. But instead, you get stuff like you break into the fake Facebook office, and on one of the whiteboards, it's just like the word privacy with an X over it, and I'm like, oh man, look at that biting social commentary.
Yes. No, I agree with that completely. I think, and it is much more overtly sexual than I think the previous games have been allowed to be. And that feels heavy-handed too. That, there's more nudity and there's more doggy style in this game than I've seen in any video game ever. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Look what you can do in a video game.
I think I saw.
So I wonder though, is this not clicking with us because been there, done that, or are we just getting a little older, maybe a little more mature in our taste, so things like that may not appeal to us as much anymore, or maybe we're more sensitive to certain things? Because I find myself, while I'm playing, having similar feelings, like, I'm more eye rolls than chuckles
absolutely
to some of the humor, and I think that's kind of weird because I'm not used to that.
I don't know. I'm sure that's some of it, but
yeah,
I remember back playing, I guess, San Andreas even. As a side note, I realized the other day that all 3 PS2 GTA games came out, and I played through them while I was in college. It's weird. But like even in San Andreas, the humor was getting a little grating. Like the one mission where it's like, okay, guys, you have to break into the secret government facility at Area 69 and the secret hangar number 69 and steal this plane. It's like, that's so, like, it's like the easiest joke. It's not even a joke, really.
You pop open your cell phone and get on and start playing the stock market, and it's not called NASDAQ, it's called Boss Hack.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh.
Wow, man. We're all a bunch of tired old men now, aren't we?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I'm not above bathroom humor, but I think it doesn't land so much anymore. It's just,
if that's all you're doing is, toilet humor, that's probably an issue. If you're not doing anything kind of sarcastic or witty, maybe even smart, that might be where Rockstar has kind of fallen a little short. It's too much toilet humor, not enough, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but just be a little smarter.
And it's persistent. Writing. It's just this barrage of... And there's so much dialogue in the game, and so many of the characters want to talk to you, and everybody on the street is talking, and everybody's on their cell phone or yelling at somebody from across the street. And I was playing it the other night with Sarah on the couch, and she's like, there's a lot of talking in this game. I don't remember the other ones being this chatty.
Yeah.
You were constantly getting bombarded with dialogue. And that, on some level, that could be sort of representative of the modern world, and we all have cell phones and all of this information coming at us. And like you said, there's the fake Facebook in the game and the fake Twitter and stuff like that. So it is kind of meant to symbolize, I think, an overload of communication, but it just feels shrill. It just feels oppressive.
Do you ever feel like you just want the characters to shut up for a minute?
Oh, totally.
Absolutely. Like, there have been a few missions, like it's clear that they recorded a ton of audio for this game, and I'm sure they're really proud about showing it off. But there are like a few where you're either driving around with a passenger or you're in a gunfight with like Lamar, and he's just like shouting the entire time, like almost constantly, almost like one continuous sentence about how he's going to kill all the other guys he's shooting at.
So shoot him.
But he's like, he just talks the entire time, and it's like, I don't remember like this need for the constant narration and like smack talk.
Yeah,
that seems elevated in this game.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, there is something to be said for just sort of sitting in your car by yourself and driving around at night and listening to music.
I've been doing that a lot, actually. Yeah. I always do that in a GTA game when I first start playing. I like to just cruise around and get a feel for the world. So I've been doing a ton of side stuff and just kind of soaking in the atmosphere. So you guys are probably way ahead of me when it comes to story missions and stuff completed.
Yeah, and I haven't done a lot of that side stuff. I keep seeing the icons pop up on the map, and there seems like there's a ton of it. I mean, you can run one of the things that I thought was kind of cool and new was you can run a triathlon. You can play tennis. I did play a little tennis. That was fun.
I'm still
you guys
looking
doing
forward
like
to trying
the
some
mini
of that.
games and stuff?
Not yet, but I probably plan on doing a little bit of that.
What do you mean by
over
mini
the
games?
weekend?
Well, like the
tennis
tennis stuff, and I noticed there's some other stuff on the map. Like I went to the gun range once, but that was more because it'll like improve your shooting skills.
Yes, yeah, that's why I did it too. Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, it doesn't really appeal to me.
Maybe mini games not right, but like side activities. Because at one point you go into somebody's house, and they're like, "Sit down, press X to sit down on the couch and watch TV," and I'm just like, "Okay, game, like."
Well, I'm just
going to tell you now.
I went to the theater
I
once.
will never do this. I'm like, don't even tell me.
Yeah. But it's in the first 20 minutes of the game too. It's like if you want to sit on your aunt's couch and watch television, you can. And I'm like, why would I want to do that?
If you want to stop playing this game for a while and just watch this thing.
Right. I have this whole city to explore, and I'm sure there's Bigfoots and aliens and stuff out there somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch TV on my aunt's couch.
It's really
One thing
weird.
I've been trying to do is drive off a giant cliff. So I spent like 15, 20 minutes driving out into the countryside, found this nice little mountain there, and I could not find a good place to drive off and kill myself. So I'm very sad about that right now. But that was one of the first things I tried to do. So I'm looking forward to more shenanigans like that.
Yeah.
I've been trying to find a balance between the story and, just goofing off, because looking back on the previous GTAs, that was the majority of the stuff I would do. It's just like, what kind of crazy jumps can I go off today?
I get really ground down by that stuff, though. I find at some point that I've distracted myself with so much side stuff that I no longer care about the main narrative, or I don't remember even where the hell I was in it.
But ramps, Randy.
Is that
Jump
bad,
off
though?
ramps, man.
Yeah. What were you saying?
Is that a bad thing? Are you really that
yes,
enticed
yeah.
to get
Well,
into
it is
there?
bad. I think particularly Red Dead. I think probably being the most comparable game in terms of mechanics and world. I got so distracted by all the other stuff in that game that I really just sort of ran out of steam for the main thing. I had to kind of force myself to go back to it.
Oh, but what would you end up doing in Red Dead?
I don't remember at this point.
Oh. So I think, from what I remember of Red
Running
Dead,
errands for people, there was a lot of that, wasn't there?
Yeah, but that's structured still. And in GTA, I'll just be speeding down the highway at 100 miles an hour, or getting into shootouts with cops for no reason. But it's not like I don't unwind and think I'm going to do a side mission. I'm just going to go cruising or something like that.
Oh, okay. I keep comparing it to other open world games I play. I mean, it was Saints Row the Third recently, and certainly my love for Sleeping Dogs is well documented. And there is an efficiency to those games, and of course it's easy to get distracted by side stuff, but they have a momentum to them that really keeps your foot on the gas, to overuse an analogy, in terms of where you're going with the story and what the conclusion is and all the elements coming together. And this, still in its 10th hour to me, feels very freeform. It still feels like I'm not quite sure where it's going. I'm not sure where the structure is. Yeah. And again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's certainly part of the GTA brand. But I don't know. I think I want a little more investment for my time. I still continue to find myself sort of standing on a street corner with my cell phone, looking at the map in the game, going, what should I do? What can I do? Oh, there's nothing to do. How come there's nothing to do?
Nothing to do.
Right.
Man, I have just the opposite feeling.
Yeah.
There's
Well, and by what to do, I mean what can I do to sort of move all of this forward another step.
What's the next plot mission
thing? Yeah, what's the next beat?
Okay. Yeah, I don't know, because I have so many plot missions still left to do. I don't know if it slows down or not. So if it does, that's kind of disappointing.
Well, I like that you can switch characters. I think that's cool. I think it's really
surprising.
well implemented. I love that it sort of pulls away up into the stratosphere and sort of a Google Maps kind of thing. It drops you into another part of the city. And I have dropped in on some mundane things. I dropped in on Michael sitting in traffic. Beeping the horn and swearing out the window. And I'm like, oh, this is a little moment from his life. And then I rammed into everybody and off and on ramp.
Of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Because what else are you going to do?
Went to a strip club.
I like that you can do that. I find it a little confusing. Because you can switch at any time, essentially. And I just wonder, should I be playing as this one character? Am I missing something by playing this other character? Am I in the wrong place in the story? I don't know. And maybe it doesn't matter as much as I suspect it does.
I do find myself kind of bouncing around between the kind of the two that I've had access to. I recently just got to Trevor to the third.
Yeah.
Bouncing back and forth between the two of them, trying to find out sort of what is the next thing I can do to get the two of them in a room together. Is what I'm trying to do, is just, again, get these characters together and get to the next thing.
I really enjoy in the early missions where you'll like switch mid-mission like automatically.
Yeah.
And then you'll end as a different character than you started with and just be like play as them for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun playing as the dog.
That was fun too, yeah.
Well, was it? I don't know. But
well, I think it's interesting, and again, that's the only time that you've done that. There are the three main characters in the game, and thus far, the only fourth person I've swapped to that I recall, anyways, is the dog. But there is that fourth slot on the wheel, so it looks like maybe throughout the course of the game, it will allow the opportunity to kind of drop into some peripheral character who is not one of the three main guys.
I've heard, maybe this was just a rumor, but I heard that is the slot for your GTA Online character.
Oh, really? Okay.
But I don't know. I'm not 100%.
No, that's what I've read too. So
okay. But I was thinking, like, during these early missions where they forced the switch on you, I almost wish, like, it would go through the entire game like that and just kind of guide you, like, okay, now you're going to play as this guy for a few hours because we have stuff, like, planned. Because that's very interesting to me because it means they're more invested, like, or maybe they have specific expectations for the next part of the game for you. And it's like, in some ways it feels a little counterintuitive to having this whole open world where you're like free to do whatever you want. But I don't know. I think it would make for a more interesting like narrative.
Sure, I'm there with you, and I think that's exactly what I'm looking for. Is I'm looking for something to usher me on to the next objective. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's weird to sort of finally have this wealth of options and to be so. I don't know, gloriously into the GTA thing and still want it to point me in the direction of what the next thing is I should be doing.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Maybe I'm thinking maybe it would become a different game entirely if it did that to the degree where I'd like to see it. But
it could, yeah,
it is very cool. It's been that's probably the biggest surprise to me, like the on the fly, like force switching.
Right. Well, and I think, and again, that mechanic, the ability to sort of, pull back up into the clouds and then drop down into another part of the city, into another character's existence entirely, and much like the existence of the city itself. I'm just like, how did they do this? There was some crazy voodoo going on in this game that I don't comprehend.
There was, it's like, just on a technical level, it's
totally.
Pretty
I don't pretend
astounding.
To understand it, but
yeah, and like, this is pretty superficial, but it looks incredible. Like, how did they do this? It's because there was so much like worry in like the hype cycle when they're showing trailers and everything, where it's like, okay, is this running on PC? Is this a next gen build? But it looks really good. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. Like I was saying, like it really enhances just the feel that you're in an actual city. The fact that it looks this good. Sometimes I have to stop and look around.
I agree. Can I, as long as I guess we're being negative, can I? Well, we weren't really, but let me just throw out that I hate the way that Rockstar does tutorials. The dialogue box in the top left-hand corner of the screen that does the giant paragraph of information.
Oh yeah.
Oh, while you're doing this giant shootout, we'll put this sort of like ticker of information in the corner that's probably important, that will probably help you get through this in a much easier way, but we won't draw your attention to it. It won't make noise. It won't slow down the game in some way so you can read it and process with the information there. And it just goes. It just continues to run. And you can pause the game later and read it in your briefing. And I'm like, there's got to be a better way to teach me how to play Grand Theft Auto. I think that I find that frustrating in 4 as well, in that there were things like being able to roll out of cover and stuff like that. I didn't even know you could do until like 17 hours in the game, and I was talking about it with somebody, and I was like, really? When did it teach you how to do that? Because I must have missed that little gray card that flipped by up in the corner.
Yeah. I don't know, there's something about the tutorials which, it just doesn't sit well with me for some reason. I don't know, it's just like, they're so out of the way and like zero effort. And there's like a lot of stuff going on like that they teach you how to do.
Yeah.
Like these weird little abilities. Like I was in a gunfight and it was explaining like, oh, if you hold these buttons, you can like turn the corner behind cover and switch to this other side. and here's the combination to like instantly lock onto an enemy behind you. Like,
yes,
that was
weird. Crazy too. Yeah.
Like, and I don't even remember what the combo was, but I don't know. I guess it's kind of a mix. Like,
look it up on your briefing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of frustrating. Like, I'm glad they have these little like quirks, these little special abilities, but it all feels very disorganized.
Yes, I agree.
And I don't know. I mean, those aren't super necessary to your experience, but I don't know.
No, but I want to know. There's particularly when it comes to things like flying airplanes or landing helicopters, where it's hold down the left button and the right trigger and push X, and then click on the R3 to make the landing gear come down. I'm like, whoa, there's way too many buttons. I don't even think my controller has all those buttons. What am I supposed to be doing to land this plane? And then it's 6 attempts to try to land without turning into a ball of fire. I think there's got to be an easier way to do this. There's got to be a much more. And I mean, we could probably do an entire show on tutorials and how games teach you how to play them. But there's going to be a smarter, much more interactive and intuitive way to either lay out a controller or teach me how to understand some of these systems.
I think maybe the problem is that there's just such an enormous assortment of just things to do and little, like, detailed ways to control all of these activities that it's impossible to streamline and refine to the point where it's like intuitive,
right? Or where it all fits on a 20 button controller. Yeah,
or like even to the point where like all of these work well, because like as I was saying, I don't think the shooting's very good. There's a lot of stuff in this game that is like, oh, this is pretty good, but if this were any other game and this was the only thing you were doing, you would still have a lot of work to do before people would.
That's always been a knock on the GTA games, though. We accept subpar mechanics because there's so much to do.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's. I don't know. Where is the trade off, though? Because you get these situations where you can sit down and watch a comedy show and go golfing, but, are you going to spend a lot of time doing this? I think I would have preferred they axe some of these mini games and. Refine some of the other mechanics. I mean, this is, it's pointless to complain about at this point, but I just see the stuff going by. And I'm like,
but it is something that you make a good point, because that was one of the reasons why Sleeping Dogs last year, really appealed to me. It was much more focused than GTA games. The world was not nearly as big as Los Santos is in GTA 5, and so there is that trade-off, but the mechanics blow GTA 5's away.
Absolutely.
In terms of, driving, the way your character can interact with the game world and, walk around and stuff, blows it out of the water.
The gunplay and the fisticuffs in Sleeping Dogs alone
fisticuffs.
The melee, are so advanced as to make me wonder what the hell the GTA folks have been playing. If it weren't
remember
all these
when we
other
were
games.
discussing Sleeping Dogs last year, we were talking about how, like, will GTA rise to the occasion?
Yeah.
Will they match what Sleeping Dogs has done in terms of gameplay mechanics? And they have fallen a little bit short. I mean, there's no doubt the game world blows away anything I've ever seen, and I'm going to give Rockstar full marks for that. But DJ, when you say, like, you have the golfing and the tennis and all this other stuff, we may be better served to cut some of that crap out and really build up the shooting mechanics to something that you could have as a standalone title, Because we know Rockstar can do something like that. So maybe they're focusing their money. Well, I mean, Max Payne had fairly decent shooting mechanics, and it felt even better than it does here. And everyone was saying, like, oh, well, the shooting mechanics in GTA 5 are going to harken back to Max Payne 3. Well, no, not quite. It was way better in Max Payne 3 and much more fluid movement. So I'm a little disappointed because I've seen that they can do it. Implement those gameplay mechanics into your flagship title, and you'll probably have an even better game than you already have.
You're right. I think on some level it is a matter, and again, it's silly to complain about having this wealth of options. There's so much to do. Geez, I wish you couldn't do some of it. You know what I mean? But on some level, it does feel like they have tried to cram way too much under the hood. And if we had snipped off some of that peripheral crap, couldn't we have tightened up fluid character movement and gunplay to a degree that it would be on par with modern shooters and modern driving games and etc.
because it's like you said, the game feels more like a continuation of everything we've seen for the last 10 years,
Totally.
which is good, but it's also bad because it's time to take that next step, and this game feels more like a sequel and maybe a half a sequel instead of like a truly giant leap forward in terms of mechanics and stuff. There's a lot of good stuff here, a lot of nice upgrades to the mechanics. Things do work better than they have in the past, but I kind of feel like there's a bit of a missed opportunity. I want, if your competitor who has like a fraction of your budget, who can make something like Sleeping Dogs, have like really tight mechanics, there's no excuse for the kind of budget that you have not to do the same thing.
Well, on the other hand, maybe that's just not what they're going for. Maybe they want the like really like polished up story and cinematic experience, and people like most of their audience is content with the level of mechanics they have at the moment.
It seems so obvious as to me that it would have to be intentional. That there's no way, the millions of hours and people that have worked on this game, at some point somebody wouldn't have stepped up and said, could we make this a little bit better? So there's got to be some machination behind it that got it to this point. So yeah, you have to believe it's intentional. It's not an oversight. It's not because somebody forgot to put in a line of code that would make him not walk like he's ankle deep in sand. But yeah, you're right. It seems almost like it has to be on purpose at this point.
Okay, so turning to the stuff that I think they are doing very well, though. What do you guys think of the story so far?
I mean, it hasn't hooked me completely yet, but to be fair, I haven't really spent as much time as you guys with it. But it is getting better. I can see it starting to get better already.
I think it's interesting.
I was going to say I don't find, or at first I did not find either the protagonists you start with, Michael and Franklin, particularly interesting.
Yeah.
But when they put them together, it's like the way they do it is so unique, and like the relationship that instantly forms between them, it's just like, oh, this is really compelling suddenly.
Yeah. There is an energy between the two of them that they don't have separately. I agree.
Yeah.
I just had my first mission with the two of them together, and that's when I'm like, oh, okay, this is probably going to be really good.
Cool.
That's kind of when it turned for me in the right direction. So I'm looking forward to spending more time with the 2 or 3 of them all together. I'm sure it's going to be good.
Oh, it is raining like a mofo here in Harrisburg right now. So if you can hear that, I apologize. We're getting quite the barrage of rain at this point. But no, I agree. I think individually the characters don't feel super unique. They feel kind of disjointed and probably intentionally so. Michael is essentially Tommy Vercetti, right? And Franklin is essentially the guy from San Andreas whose name I can't remember. CJ, there you go. Kind of modernized, I think, and beaten down by the worlds that they live in. They do feel a little tired of their existences, but you do get them together, and there is a vitality and an energy to it that I really like. They really seem very kind of inspired by each other to get back into this high stakes world of jewel and armored car heists. And those, I think, I've gotten through one of those big heists so far, and I think there's a number of them in the game, and those are awesome. Those have pacing and momentum, and they feel very like hyper detailed, so much so that even in advance you do a lot of legwork where you have to sort of collect assets and pick your team, and you get this big presentation on a whiteboard where it's sort of like, we can go with this guy, he costs a little bit more, but he's worth it because I think of this, and you pick your the folks that you're going to take into.
That sounds really awesome.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. And the one heist you did in GTA 4 was I think the best part of that game. That was my favorite mission. I probably ran
everyone always talks about that being like the best mission in the game. I would say that and the final mission were pretty damn close in terms of kick-assness.
But I really, really like that the pivot point for a number of the things that are going to happen in this game are happening around those big heists, because they do feel grandiose and epic, and they do feel like they are kind of moving these characters and this experience forward.
It was a little disappointing to me the way like so quickly, like you can see the gameplay mechanics showing through the I don't know, the like all those elements going into the heist, because it's just
totally.
Like pick this from the list. Do you want to do the stealthy approach or the assault approach? But it is very cool that they let you
even having those options, I think.
And they like give you the whole like Ocean's 11, like this is how we're gonna do it. This
nice.
The men for the job. It's like it's
you'll
really
take it all, right?
You like get into it pretty well. And like you said, you had to go track down all the different components. So that was exciting. I've only done the first one.
Well, scouting the locations, you kind of walk in advance, and you're sort of looking around and looking for the ducks and where the cameras are located and how many guards they have on. And
I need to hurry up and do one of these heists.
You'll get to one soon enough. They get one probably in the first. What did you say, DJ? Probably 6 hours or so of the game.
Yeah, I think I've played for about 6 hours.
Oh, okay. So maybe even earlier than that then.
Yeah.
But yeah, it makes me really think of everything I've heard of the new Payday game and all the level of detail that goes into that and all of the options that you have for those big heists. And it makes me wonder if maybe how much I would enjoy playing something like that. Or what's the other one? Monaco? Kind of the top-down bank robbery simulator game. I kind of wonder how much fun those would be given how exciting those are in this game.
I don't know if you have that same preparation component. I haven't played Payday. I only played Monaco for a little bit. But yeah, I mean, those are also different because they're multiplayer and you have different people performing the specialized roles.
Right.
I gotta say, I'm a little disappointed there's no co-op in the main story for GTA 5. I remember that was kind of my wish list item, so I'm a little sad that they didn't implement it or try.
Well, there is. It's just you don't have a real person controlling the other character.
Right, yeah.
I
just think how much fun it would be to do a giant heist in that game with the three of us, each controlling a character. That would be pretty fun.
Oh, totally. And I think those experiences have to exist in the online portion, right?
Oh, man, yeah. I would hope so, yeah. If so, then that's going to be the best online ever.
Well, I think that sort of segues nicely into maybe hopes and dreams for the GTA Online, which is still probably about 8 days away right now at the point that we're recording this. So I think most of us are still tearing into clearly the main portion of the game, but GTA Online launches 10/1. Hopes, dreams, fears. What are you guys?
I'm really looking forward to this.
I'm wondering how different, structurally, it will be from GTA 4. Because that was or GTA 4 Online, because you had your typical lobby and you'd pick your game type and stuff like that. But, in the interim, we've seen stuff like Red Dead, which had that crazy kind of open world, persistent lobby. And, what else has happened since then? Rockstar hasn't done a whole lot of multiplayer.
Max Payne.
Yeah.
I played quite a bit of.
Yeah. But I'm just wondering,
every now and then.
From the huge reveal trailer they showed off, it sounded like it sounded almost MMO-like, which would be definitely a first. It'd be cool.
Certainly for me. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Having never played a game with that kind of structure before. Mm-hmm. I just feel like it's fully on sandbox mode. That even to the point where you can, create your own incidences and objectives and stuff like that and share those with people. But you do have the option of kind of just running the city and rampaging, or kind of sticking and respecting the structure of it, being able to run missions with folks. And yeah, I think maybe that's where the MMO comparison comes in.
I hope it's just I'd be fine if they just have the MMO style lobby and then you can meet up and agree to get into a more organized game.
So having never played an MMO, what do you mean by that?
Just having a persistent map that everybody's on.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what other distinctions there.
So it's not a screen with a bunch of people's names and then you push start and it loads it. You're all sort of walking around in the world that you're going to play in. Well.
I want to just load up San Andreas and I can be doing my thing, be just driving cars around. But, I'll see Randy driving down the street and be like, oh, hey, maybe we could do a mission or something.
Hey, I want to kill that guy.
Yeah. Or that too, yeah.
Right, sure.
As long as they bring back some of the co-op missions and Cops and Crooks mode, I'll be very happy.
I was going to say, yeah, as long as Cops and Crooks comes back.
Particularly with the better driving, that would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with me not at the wheel.
Yeah, that was always... for those who don't know, in GTA 4, there was a mode called Cops and Crooks where you did a quick sort of bank robbery, pick up some money bags, get in a car, and then it's a giant chase through the city to a helicopter, right, that would take you away.
Oh yeah,
it was some sort of escape method,
right? And they would just throw tons of cops after you.
The other team
was
right.
cops.
That's right.
Yeah.
There you go. And so it's a bunch of folks leaning out of windows and crashing their cars into buildings and trying to take each other out on their way to the elevator or to the helicopter. But of course, one person would get stuck in the unfortunate driver's seat if you didn't volunteer, and none of us want to drive because the last thing you want to do is be the one responsible for dropping the entire team into the river.
Speak for yourselves.
And then inevitably DJ would steal a helicopter and rain hot death upon all of us. So,
oh man, but no, it was pretty visionary because there were just so many different ways around could go completely off the rails. Like you start out in a couple cars. Sometimes maybe you'd start out in one car. Maybe some people would decide they didn't like their car and get a motorcycle.
There was always somebody who would bail right at the beginning and go his own way.
Yep. Yeah. I'm going to get away on a Faggio.
Yeah. It was so good. So I really hope that's back because I think that was definitely the most unique thing about GTA 4 Online.
Well, and it is that variables. It is that unknown. It is sort of a city that is alive around you and all of the crazy shit that happens in a city. And, well, partnered with, wonky controls and twitchy shooting sometimes and people who just don't give a shit and yada yada and throw all of those components into this bouillabaisse of trying to get to a helicopter before the timer runs up or you get shot in the head. Yeah, it definitely made it chaotic and unpredictable, which was good. So yeah, I think that's what I want GTA 5 Online to be, is that sort of feeling of insanity, that an unpredictability, but sort of with something very direct to do, with occasionally it going, hey, why don't you go over here and I don't know, rob this bank or blow up this
car. And I'm really
car.
looking forward to the player-created missions and stuff and races and everything. Because when you open games up to your player base, they're going to end up doing stuff you never thought of.
Oh, totally.
So kudos to Rockstar for allowing people to, create races. I don't know how in-depth the customization of the missions and, events and stuff is going to be, but just the fact that they're going to be giving people a sandbox in which to do this kind of stuff, that's great. Because somebody out there is going to come up with some sort of new crazy mode that's going to end up spinning off into like a new game type.
Totally.
Oh,
well,
man,
that was the
next
best
Dota
stuff. Right,
yes, exactly.
Well, it was the best stuff in, I think, the best multiplayer games that the three of us have ever played together. Think of probably GTA 4 and Red Faction Guerrilla. It is the incidental stuff. It is the things you make up on the fly that bring the most to it. And GTA 5 appears to be built for that sense of creativity and spontaneity.
Can't wait.
Yeah. I have the image in my head of that multiplayer trailer where and I've talked about it on the show, the dude rides his four-wheeler off the side of a cliff and then as the bike disappears into the chasm below him, he just you hit a button and the parachute goes off and it turns into a completely different experience. And I'm like, I want that on the fly, crazy made up experience. Yeah.
And did you guys ever do the parachute races in Just Cause 2?
I think I may have done a couple.
I don't think I got to that point.
So good. I forgot that there's so much emphasis on the gunplay and competitive death matching in online modes. I've totally forgot there's the whole racing component. So I'm looking forward to those. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah. And
you can throw some guns in there for good measure. Who cares?
Yeah, that's always the fun part. Shoot out tires and stuff and change the complexity of the race.
Well, this was one of the other podcasts I was listening to. Is I just want to get some guys together and play golf. I just want, you know what I mean?
That'd be fun.
Well, that'd be cool until someone does a drive by
and then maybe shoot each other. Yeah.
Uzis you out the window. Exactly.
Oh man, I think
that's what I want online to be. Just you start out as something structured, and then somebody's just no, now we're doing this, and then you're all doing that.
Yeah.
And the tighter your crew or your group of friends when you do something like that, I think the better off things will be. So if you have a group of people who play off each other really well, they'll probably end up making the entire online experience way better as well. As long as everyone's kind of in the same ballpark of what's acceptable and what's not,
Yeah. Boundaries.
Oh man, if only we had some kind of organized group that we could point people to when they're playing this online.
Wait, there is. So yeah, we definitely want to encourage the folks in the VGH community to join our Rockstar Social Club crew and play some GTA 5 with us one of these days. If you go to... what was the website? Anyone?
Rockstar Social Club. Something. I think it's... No, hold on.
Socialclub.rockstar.com.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep, there you go. Go to that.
We'll have a link. Just go to the link. Don't listen to what we say.
Yes. And you can search for crews for your online characters to join, and just search for, we are either VGHO or Video Game Hangover. One of those will pop up. And join, and then you can play with us. I think you get sort of challenges and our scores compared to yours and stuff like that. And and we can shoot each other in the face or play golf.
And if we
choice.
get enough activity, we may have to do like an organized game night or something.
Oh, that would be
If
awesome.
we get enough people interested.
yeah.
We'll see.
They haven't even released like what modes they're going to be on.
You're right, exactly. What's coming?
I know.
It's all a mystery.
Yeah.
We'll all
They've shown it
find
to
out
a
together.
few media folks, and there definitely has been some like, oh, top 10 things you're going to want to do on the first day of GTA Online. And all of that feels very canned. It doesn't really feel analytical, or it's, they're not real
Yeah.
reviews. These are things
I
that Rockstar
just want the
would-
whole mode by mode breakdown.
Yeah, I agree.
Just want to get in there.
Cool. Anything else GTA related you guys want to talk about before we say goodnight?
Looking forward to GTA 6, the true sequel.
Or Sleeping Dogs 2. Somebody make that happen.
Oh, yes. Day one purchase if that
Absolutely.
ever happens.
All right, cool. Last call. We do some last call. You have time for that?
Do it.
What time? Do it. All right, last call. Before we say goodnight, we've got time for one last thing, completely unrelated to GTA, but another fun podcast that I discovered recently that I want to recommend to folks is called James Bonding. It is Matt Myra from the Nerdist podcast and some other dude also named Matt Gorley. I'm not really sure who he is, but they're funny together.
Well, he's Matt Gorley.
Yeah, there you go. But what they're doing is they're going through all, almost 30 of the James Bond movies and watching them and then doing a podcast based on each one. They've done 3 of them so far. They're really funny. They get other guests to come in, comedians and stuff like that, and talk about the James Bond movies. But they're surprisingly analytical, and they pick up on a lot of cool little details and how well or not well that series has aged. But it's really, really cool, and it's such a great idea for a podcast that I'm angry DJ and I didn't think of it.
Wait, why would I think this?
Well, because you like James Bond, right? Didn't we have that conversation at one point?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I was just thinking about it as you're talking, but there's still a lot of those I haven't seen.
Oh, yeah. Well, that too. I think.
I only haven't seen 3 of them. So.
Oh, wow. Maybe you're
Really?
a bigger fan, Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the 70s and 60s movies, especially. Spy Who Loved Me, best James Bond film ever.
I don't like Roger Moore.
I do. I do like him a lot, and I will make my case for Roger Moore. So,
Okay, well,
Well,
I know a lot of people don't like him. He's kind of like my dark horse pick for favorite
he's a little
James
stuffy.
Bond.
He's a little effete.
See, I didn't find him. Okay, well, let's not get into it.
Yeah, save it.
I found him very
We
charming.
need to find a way to do a James Bond show. But yeah, it's good. It's on the Nerdist Network. I'm sure you can find it by searching through whatever your podcatcher is. Definitely listen to it. It's called James Bonding. A lot of fun.
that's I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. You guys have anything you want to talk about?
Tunnel snakes rule.
They rule.
Would you like to provide some context?
No, I
No?
think that's
Just gonna throw that out
plenty
there.
of context. Yeah,
Am I the only one who does last calls now?
I just did one.
It sure seems that way, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
I'm just unprepared. I am so sorry, guys, to let you down.
Final Fantasy 14, really good. You should play it.
Oh, man. No, don't say that.
All
Yeah,
right,
but
so if you have
seriously, it's like
questions
super
or
good.
comments
Like,
about anything we talk
Sorry.
about on the show, I'll be so angry if we do an entire GTA show and all of our comments are about Final Fantasy DJ.
Oh, do it. Send us your Final
Tell
Fantasy
me your,
14
what
thoughts.
class are you playing? Which server are you on?
Why should I get the game?
Oh man, it's great.
We are VG Hangover on Twitter. We're also that on Facebook. You can go to our blog at vghangover.com and let us know what's on your mind. Review us on iTunes. Join our Rockstar Social Club. Show us your tweets.
Yep.
This has been Video Game Hangover. I am Randy Dickinson.
I am DJ Ross.
This is Paul Sandu.
Thanks for listening. Good night.
Good night.
Or afternoon.
You've been listening to Video Game Hangover. Tweet your gaming questions to VG Hangover on Twitter, or you can always interact with us at vghangover.com. We'll feature the best stuff on a future episode. This week's music is by Ricky Hanmong from the soundtrack to the Curve Studios games Stealth Bastard and Stealth Inc. You can listen to the entire soundtrack and download a copy for yourself at curvestudios.bandcamp.com. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week.